Victor, how are you? It's so great to have you here on the program again.
What's going on, Jim? Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Hey, thanks so much for bringing me into the fold with what you do in HVAC. I appreciate it. It's been a few months now that we've been working together on radio. What kind of feedback do you have?
Obviously, Jim, me and you've been going back and forth for years on, finally pulling the trigger on this and a couple different brands, and finally I said, hey, let's do it. And we think we rolled it out at Fiscore, beginning of the year, something along those lines, maybe February. And to be honest, I've done a lot of radio in the past. In Southern California, I did a lot of branding radio, different Go Country radio stations, 30-second, 60-second spots. And it was always really hard to track and really see the ROI on it. And of course, we know we were getting it, but, it was hard to track. I think that's been the biggest difference noticing working with Checker Pro is that how the radio station and how the radio station you choose, how you structure the actual interview on the radio and have that authoritative figure on there, and you get the direct response where people are calling in right away. It's been a breath of fresh air. So I mean, it's been awesome. We've generated, I don't know, hundreds of leads at this point, I believe, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and it's been one of our more successful things. And we don't do much. I think we kind of lead on the side of like more old school marketing. We're doing radio, we're doing mail, and we're doing things where people are kind of neglecting and putting off. And we're trying to go where people aren't, right? And I think that's what radio's allowed us to do is that a lot of people have pulled out of radio or aren't doing it the right way. And you've allowed us to do it the right way. And it's been very successful. And we're getting ready to open up more markets. So I know we're at Caswell. We're looking at Colorado. We're looking at other brands that we're looking to put this in. So I think it's going to be huge. But yeah, man, thanks for obviously introducing me to this and obviously giving us an opportunity to work with you.
Thank you, Victor. You know what is old is new. So many people have been rushing into digital saturated. It's important. You've got to be there. But a lot of home service companies have forgotten, or if they're relatively new to the space, they never did radio, TV, direct mail. And that is not dead yet. And you know this, all of the largest home service companies in any market, the biggest ones, are on TV, they're on radio, they're doing direct mail, they're doing print.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of guys, they just depend so much on digital and digital so much. There's so many people out there on digital. There's so much, clutter and don't know who to trust or all these things. And reviews don't really matter that much because everybody's got 5-star reviews. So you got to find a way to kind of stand out and also put people on the market that were not on the market, right? How do I get them that or, maybe they thought about, the new system, but they haven't really thought about it. Now we're getting in front of them before our competitors ever get a chance to. We're able to put them on the market and take them off the market well, our competitors are sitting at home hoping for a Google lead to come in, hoping for a unit to break. I mean, we were running leads with you during the springtime when there was no weather, and we were crushing it on those leads. And now those people are never even going to see the other companies that could have came out there and won those bids.
Well, it's a very proactive way. People are driving around in their trucks, in their cars. Maybe they're doing some work in their garage, 50-plus-year-old people, and they are not in the market at that point. They don't have a problem. So when there's a problem, the HVAC companies all get a call. 4 or 5 companies, "Come out, I have a problem." When you talk to them in a direct response fashion, they know they may have an old system. It may not be great. They don't know who to call, but they're like, "Okay, I heard this guy Victor on the radio. Sounds trustworthy. He's on the Checker Pro radio show. Jim, the host, has checked him out. I'm going to call now." So when you guys go out there, Victor, there aren't 2 other HVAC companies in the street waiting for you to leave to bid. They're only using you.
Yeah, and I think that's where we really try to lead most of our marketing, right? And we lead with tune-ups and service, and while everybody else is waiting for the unit to break down, by the time the unit breaks down, they've hit Google, they've seen 15 different companies, and, sometimes they've already called 5 different companies before they finally got to you to answer the phone. And I know like right now it's summertime just hit. It's 100 degrees outside. Yesterday our phones are going crazy on repair calls. Well, we go knock on the door, there's already another company there. Or we're in the house, another company shows up and knocks on the door behind us. So this really allows us to have control of that customer, control the narrative from beginning to end, and not really let them hit the market. And we've seen higher closing percentages, also higher average tickets on maintenance, come radio or mail or things along those lines, rather than trying to wait for those repair calls to come in where they've already started price shopping you and Google and everything.
I suggest to all home service companies, regardless of category, whether it's HVAC, electric, plumbing, it doesn't really matter. If you can afford to get into the traditional mass media, radio and television, dip your toe in. Radio is the least expensive. But if you want to be a big guy, and we hear about this all the time at conferences, if you want to be a 20, $50 million company, you will eventually be in radio and television.
Oh, 100%. It's just a natural progression. It's like one of those things is, some of you guys might not be big enough, but at the end of the day, we started, Fiskor when I partnered with, they weren't big enough. They were a $2 million business this time last year, right? A $2.5 million business. And now we're going to be at $18 million business this year. But we also started investing in things that are going to grow our business, direct response radio, obviously direct mail, everything along those lines.
Yeah, I got a text from you last night, as a matter of fact, and you said you got like a $30,000 radio lead. What's that all about?
Yeah, I think we had one. I think we went to the house. They had two systems, and my guy ended up going in there on a maintenance call. Come in for, I think we ran like a $19 tune-up special, right? Get us in the door. Got the guy in the door. He spent some time. Obviously, you got to have a dialed-in process. One thing, the difference between a successful company and unsuccessful company is what you do in the house, right? I don't care how many leads or what kind of leads you get. If you're not properly trained to convert them, like my guys are, but yeah, my guys are properly trained. They run a proper tune-up process. They educate the customers. They ask, they go through a presentation. They ask for the sale. And my guy last night walked away with a $30,000 deal on a maintenance call.
Yeah. Victor, when it comes to spending money on radio, direct response radio, you have to answer your phone. And that sounds silly, but some companies don't. And you have to have trained technicians to close the deal. Someone's got to be able to close the deal. The salesperson, technician, whoever that is, they need to be able to do that. So I tell home service companies all the time, when they are thinking about investing in radio, which is not inexpensive. It's not out of the, galaxy pricing, but it's not, you don't pay like, $5 for a little ad on Facebook. I mean, this is more expensive. I tell them, you have to answer your phone and you have to be able to close the deal. You will get calls. You will be invited into their home, and then you need to convert.
Yeah, it's like anything else, though. I mean, if you invest in the training with your guys, you invest in the radio. Over time, it's just going to continue to grow and scale. And I'm already looking. I'm talking to Jim, looking at possibly adding more radio stations and more growth, especially with Fiskor and Caswell and things along those lines. So, yeah, I think if you're not investing in it, you should be. And if you aren't investing in it, I would take that radio spot before your competitors stand in your market, right? Close out the market, get rid of those guys, and I know Jim's gonna obviously try to make it to where you can work with those companies in that market. You take it over, and I would get on it before someone else takes it from you.
Yeah, that's some good advice. Victor, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it, my friend.
No problem, brother. Thanks again.